Nate, will you come out and help me present the Golden Thumb to Mykelti Williamson, please? Mykelti Williamson, come on out. You're going to stand on the star first.
On my mark.
You're not going to sit because what do we have for him?
A golden thumb.
Our tradition here at Ebertfest is to give you a Casting and Rogers thumb, the Golden Thumb, and I only wish he would have been here to see you because he did love this movie. And I have to tell you specifically, when I think of this movie, I think of the relationship between Bubba and Forrest. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. All right. Listen, I'm so humbled to be here. If you know anything about me at all, what you see is what you get. You know, like it or lump it, it's dipped in chocolate, take it or not, you know? Here it is. But thank you guys so much just for your love, the way you guys have treated me as a community. The way you've treated me and my wife, Sandra, my dream girl, since we've been here at this fest with you, people have been 99.9% of the time been amazing.
What about that other look?
There's a couple of folk I had to give that eye look like, okay. All right, don't go crazy just because you can reach out and touch a brother, you know. Take it easy, you know. But everybody's been amazing. But I look forward to sitting down and having a conversation with you, so let's go.
Okay. Oh, can we take this? We'll give it back.
You sure?
Yeah, we'll give it.
Okay.
And we're going to call out Matt Fagerholm to come and join us on the stage as well. You sit,
Folks.
you sit here. Yeah, you can be seated. Okay. I'm here.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
here. You're over there.
She just asked me, folks, but we're doing this. I love this film. All right, let's see.
I like you already, man.
It's,
come up here and start
it's good to
trouble
be
when you
honest, as
showed
you
up.
said. It's good to be honest.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So, we were talking a little bit backstage, and you were saying that every character, I was saying that the characters that really resonated with me, of course, I liked Lieutenant Dan, but really it was the relationship when I think in my memory of the film, the relationship between Bubba and Forrest, and of course Jenny, you know, the lifelong love he had for her. But tell me what you were saying about every character in that film and how they put it together.
Every character in the film represents someone's humanity somewhere. When you're playing broken human beings, all of us, our approach as professionals with Gump, and it starts from Wendy Feinerman, who it took her 14 years to get this film made. So if you want to make this kind of stuff, just know that sometimes it can take that long for the babies like this, like Gump. But don't stop, keep going. But anyway, I was saying backstage that when I was complimented, I was so appreciative. But by the same token, we cannot leave out Gary Sinise, which you didn't. Gary Sinise and the journey of that broken man and his fight with the universe and his purpose and how his purpose shifted and how he had to come to terms with that and the way he represented that humanity. Robin Wright, Sally Field, come on, and all the supporting cast, everyone, including this crew, represented excellence at the highest level. And they did it intentionally every single day. And I've worked with a lot of crews as a director and as an actor, and you see trouble. Because as a director, you're mostly managing personalities. You'll find that a lot more of your work goes into that as a director. But on Gump, it was such a family atmosphere. Imagine if you all got together as cool as everybody is in here, and made a movie. And you put your highest level of love on it. That's what we did on Forrest Gump. That's what we did. That's all. And, we were under Bob Z's direction. And I'm
How
privileged.
was Zemeckis to work with? How was he as a director? And that was your first time working with him, right?
It was. It's my first, it was a privilege and an honor. And I almost got fired off Forrest Gump.
Why did you almost get fired? What happened?
Well, you know that little piece I had in my mouth? Yeah.
You had a mouthpiece to make it.
To make my lips sit out here so I could actually see it, yes. And so the character I created that way because Bob Zemeckis gave me the freedom to do so.
So that was your idea.
Well, yeah, the lip piece,
The lip piece,
absolutely.
okay.
And the interpretation of this individual's humanity. That the director leaves up to the actor that they trust. And Bob Z trusted every one of us. And we trusted him. He scared us a little bit at times because he loves visual effects and he's so far ahead of the rest of us that when you see him talking with his hands and he's excited and he's happy and he's like a little kid talking because he's so fired up. The man loves what he does and it scares you because you wonder, he just finished a film before this one that was released called Death Becomes Her. And people's heads were turning around and everything. And so we were like, are we gonna have our heads doing 360s? We didn't know what it was. And so we kind of huddled together as a cast to give him the best movie we could make as well. We knew he was trying to make the best one he could make because that's the fabric he's cut from. But that was our approach in every department. Crew, the most elevated human beings ever. And I would say one of the kindest, but they were actually the kindest group of crew that I've ever worked with. We just worked by far. And I've worked with some amazing people.
And was that little boy Haley Joel Osment at the end?
Absolutely. Cute as a button, boy. Yeah, that's right.
And there he is watching Sesame Street, and we just had Bert on stage last night. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. I interviewed years ago Hannah Hall, who played the young Jenny in the film, and talking about just living with that iconic line, "Run, Forrest, run," what that was like growing up as a kid, all the kids in school saying that to her, and growing up with that. Yeah. What has it been like for almost the last 3 decades with a character as iconic as Bubba in this film? What do you feel is the meaning of that character? Has it evolved for you over the years with people coming up to you asking about it?
Well, the character means the same thing to me. When I learned I was privileged to live through that kind of a human being. And we see people all the time that don't appeal to us on the outside, but who are they on the inside? And so that's the way I want to do my art, and so I did it. I wasn't even seen originally for Forrest Gump at all. They wouldn't see me. 2 of my students came, and I helped them with their material, but they wouldn't listen. So I was like, we helped them shape the Bubba that they believed in. And then they went forth, didn't get a bite. Next guy, didn't get a bite. So I asked them, I said, hey, you guys mind if I go in on this thing? They said, no, coach, go ahead, man. So I went in, and the rest is history. The rest you'll read in detail in my book. But they didn't even want to see me. They saw me, weren't prepared, but were too afraid I was seen on a Saturday by an assistant casting person. And so my agent, Nina Pakula, said, I want you to knock them out. I said, okay, all right, you got it. And so I kind of troubled the waters and made a little trouble. Now I'm calling too much attention to myself as a young black actor. It's like, boy, what you doing? I was like, no, I wanted to get in on this thing. So they saw me on a Saturday, and they asked, can we put you on tape? I said, sure. So we borrowed someone else's room down the hall. The janitor let us in. We used their VHS recording camera and put me on VHS tape, sent it to Bob Zemeckis, and then I get another call. Hey, you know that thing, Forrest Gump, you went in on a couple weeks ago? I said, yeah. They want to see you for it. I said, just me or me and a bunch of other people? See, I must know these things, right? So it turns out it was a final callback, but there were actors from across the country. And by the grace of God, there was one guy tried to like spook me because he knew he had flown in, and everybody in the office knew his name, all the assistants, and so he was walking around, chest pounding, like, yeah, these people, they know me, I'm in, right? And so I looked at him, and I saw him go outside. So I went outside and slid my harmonica out of my pocket and started playing the blues. And that dude looked like a ghost. He started out looking just like me. Then he looked like Casper the Friendly Ghost. And I said, I got it. So he tried to play a player, tried to hustle a hustler. It's like when you're really good at what you do, that's your hustle. Well, don't hurt anybody with it, but that's your hustle. So this is mine.
You have that harmonica in your pocket at the moment?
No, I know I was going to ask.
I do
you to
not.
get the harmonica, yeah.
I do not. I have one in my hotel room. Yeah.
How did you and Tom Hanks develop that relationship? What kind of directions were you given from Zemeckis, and how did you two decide what kind of rehearsal did you have? Because that is a really believable friendship on screen.
Well, the character that you saw, the final character, is not really only my decision. It's, Bob Zemeckis spoke into Bubba's life, Tommy Hanks, Sinise, everybody on the crew, they all spoke into the character's life and helped to shape that Bubba journey. Because initially I wanted to show someone who was unappealing on the outside but beautiful on the inside, because when you get to the war sequence, I wanted people to feel kind of funny about what war actually costs on every level and what it actually does to humanity. I mean, but I want you to see it. I'm not taking a side. I'm just saying I want people to really attach humanity to those events. And that's why I lived through Bubba the way I did. That's why Sinise, Tommy Hanks, that was our purpose. And so we just wanted to elevate the humanity of these broken, flawed human beings. So you know what it feels like when you lose them, because they've become family to you as the viewing audience. And that was our purpose. So I hope we achieved that purpose.
I know that Matt wants to ask, he saw you in Fences, and I know he has some questions about Fences before we
The film
get back.
or on Broadway?
I saw just the film.
Okay.
I would love to see the Broadway. There's a recording available, but
I can get you a ticket.
I would love to see it. But it's, I just want, because we're talking about how great the ensemble is in this film, and people, show of hands, have seen Fences from 2016. It's also one of my favorite ensembles in recent memory. And I mean, if you don't mind dovetailing to that for a second, just it was so interesting looking at James Earl Jones, his performance, and the archival footage you'd see of that production of Fences, comparing it to Denzel Washington on stage. And at least the clips I'd see, you'd hear so much laughter from the audience. It's a different experience when it's live in comparison to the film adaptation, where everything is much in a smaller scale. It's more dramatic. What was it drastically different between the stage and film for Fences for you?
Well, for me,
Microphone.
I'm sorry. I have such a big mouth, I usually don't use it. But I'll use it. Thank you for the reminder. But for me, you have to bring the same level of truth, but you don't have to push it. You can live it more than perform it. And for the actors in the room and directors, I know you know what I'm talking about. You can actually live through that human being because the camera's going to come and get it, as opposed to sending it out to make certain everyone back there enjoys the show as well. So the humanity was the same, but the delivery system was a little different. That's all.
And I had a specific reason for jumping to stage because I know that, or I have heard or read that for a while after that character became so iconic, the Bubba Blue character, that it became a little bit of an albatross around your neck for a little while, that maybe you thought you were going to be typecast, that when people met you, they expected for one thing for you to have the extended lip and just other things. Tell us what that was like, the period, and how did you come out of that feeling about the character?
I love this character, first of all. And I'm reminded of his humanity every time I see the film. I actually go to Bubba to build myself up personally sometimes, to get some of that return off that screen. But I'm very proud of the character. I always have been. And I know that everyone has a process, but the character, to me, my characters come from, I get a lot of assistance through prayer from the Holy Spirit is where I get a lot of my interpretations for characters. And I'm reminded of human beings I've met who were fractured and need to be represented on screen so people could understand their humanity. I'm the guy for that. That's what I do. That's my hot button. So this is, in a sense, this is my ministry. So I was proud of the work, but I had to hire a publicist so that people could see what I really looked like after the movie came out, so I could start working again. So I got paid a very and embarrassingly small amount of money to do this movie. And part of that hurts me to this day because I know a lot of people have done really well, but they haven't reached back to the people that helped them pull it off. But they continue.
I hope they're listening right now.
But they continue to benefit. Don't be that kind of filmmaker if you're here today or if you're listening today. Don't be that. Don't hurt other human beings because it's hurtful, and you just go, wow, I love it too. And I was young and taken advantage of with the contract. Yeah, of course I wanted to represent this human being. I'd love to. And you pray about it and you know you're right for it. And then when people are rewarded, they don't share it. They just go.
Yeah, that's a major problem.
Don't be that person. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. And you'll be better for it, and so will the people around you. And that's it.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that's a major problem in this business. And it's really unfortunate. And, it's the job of the young filmmakers out there to change that. I have one question. How do you prefer your shrimp prepared?
And don't tell him. So
Chaz,
for a small fee, Chaz will tell you what I see.
Oh, okay. I myself don't eat shrimp, but that's okay. Chaz, I mean, this, just ask Chaz a question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
This film is really the story of our century. I mean, we lived through this stuff, and it brought it all back to me watching this film. I've just forgotten so much of that, and it was a hard time, but it's a joyous time in a lot of ways as well. I just wonder what memories it provoked in you or drew to the
In me?
in Chaz.
In Chaz, okay.
We're
Well,
of that generation. I don't think you're quite there
yeah.
yet.
Well, it did bring back memories. As a kid in 1966, I marched with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when he was in Chicago. My parents were very active in, my mother especially, in sort of voting rights acts. My dad would tell me about paying a poll tax in the South when they lived in Georgia. I used to go around the country speaking at things. I spoke with Shirley Chisholm and with Angela Davis, and when I was in college, I was the president of the Black Student Union. And so a lot of those things, as I go through the history, that's another reason that movie, means so much to me as you go through things. And it's Zemeckis does it in a lighthearted way, in a sense, with putting Forrest in all of those situations. But it was important to me too when you show the Bubba Blues family, and when you first go to give them the money for Apple, and then later you see, and the mother is sitting and she's not working in someone else's kitchen, and she has somebody serving her who is, instead of her serving someone, and it's a white woman serving her, and just little things, little touch points in the movie. I mean, it did, and the civil, the Vietnam War. I have a brother to this day who came home, and I saw my brother, just before I came here, and we were talking about the movie, and I started asking him about Vietnam, and he still won't talk to me about it. I don't know what happened to him over there, but when I see this movie and see Bubba and some other things, I wonder exactly what happened. So, yeah, there are a lot of things in the era that is art when we were coming to age.
Yeah, I was on this campus when there were the anti-war demonstrations on Green Street, and it was it was a difficult time, but it was really nice to be a part of that, to feel that you were involved. I saw Joan Baez on the campus here perform, major demonstrations among students and stuff, and I started to think about how easy I lived through that. I mean, there was always a hope involved in all those activities.
And so, that's another thing about this movie. I know, and I know there, I spoke with some people when we were thinking about doing the film, and there are some things in the movie, in a lot of different movies, that are, I don't know whether it will be made today. There are some things that may be considered politically incorrect. But I still think that the sweetness of the movie, I don't think that Robert Zemeckis had, it's not a mean movie. People did bully Forrest, and there were bad things that happened to him, but he was able to overcome them. And I still think at the heart of the movie, it's really a sweet movie, and it's about goodness. And I do think, over the last few days, if you know anything about me, I'm really an optimist, and I have hope, and I really do believe in kindness and all of that. So we just made a decision. We'll show the movie, and I'd actually like for you, to tell me what you take away from the movie at this point.
Can I factor in some of the socially unacceptable things that were here? And would you like to hear my opinion about that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Would you guys like to hear that? Well, first of all, I don't think any of us, as artists, as creative people, as professionals, should be arrogant enough to mess with someone else's period film. I think it's arrogance. And you wouldn't want it done to you in the future when minds change about certain things. Leave people's films alone. When you're going to pay for it, it's going to cost you. What goes around always comes around. And I know this is being streamed, and I mean everything I'm saying right now. Gone with the Wind, we don't need to bother that movie. Forrest Gump, we don't need to bother that movie. And whatever film you make, if you believed in it and it represents human beings at that time, one day it too will be a period film. And it should not be tampered with. That's unfair, is selfish on top of selfish, with some selfish icing on top of it. So that's how I feel about it. Yeah. Yeah. Do your art. Yeah, leave other people alone. Stop bothering people, man. Leave people alone. That's what's wrong with the world now. Am I right? Okay. All right. Okay. So, now what I took away from this film is I had a brother in Vietnam who came home very different. But we still loved him. And he looked for a lot of solutions in the bottom of a bottle. And found some help, but trying to quieten some of those voices inside him, because he shared a couple of stories with me, trying to silence those voices within took him out. You know, I lost my brother not very, very long ago, and I miss him. He was a hero. He was a real one. We're like phony heroes, acting like heroes. But he was a real one. And if you're a school teacher, anybody like that, if you're helping somebody, even your next door neighbor, you're a hero too. So don't forget it. Don't just look at us up on stage and go, ah. No, we look at you like, ah. Just keep doing good work. That's all. That's all I'm trying to do. Good work. Yeah.
I'll quickly add to that, just saying that, you know, we can't learn about our history and our culture by censoring it. I think that's just, you know, the bottom line of things. And I just think of watching this is just how much a phenomenon this film was. It's like in the era of streaming, you forget there were times where films would play for a year in the theaters because people would flock to it. And that's another thing I'll ask for you is just, what is your opinion of why this struck the zeitgeist so powerfully at that time? Just your opinion.
Humanity. We call them characters, but they're human beings. That's the way the highest level actors and storytellers and writers and directors approach it. These are human beings. There's very likely someone somewhere in the world similar to this. Somewhere. So show respect, because everybody's somebody's child. And that's how I approach a brain-injured character or a character who's from very humble means and resources, who does have an intelligence inside, Bubba Blue, right? Everybody's got value. And so what I took away from it is the hope that the value of these human beings lands on you in such a profound way that it helps you to take that next step up. And that's it, one step at a time. Maybe another movie will give you another step. But we at least hope to give you a step up and elevate your humanity, immerse you in the elevation of humanity. That's it.
I want to ask a question about the shrimp. How much of that was scripted and how much was improvised in all the things that you're saying about all the different ways of shrimp and cooking and everything?
Well, there were about 5 or 6 in the original script. But I was like, that's not enough. because I followed the leader we had in Bob Zemeckis. And Bob Z said, because when I did the 5 or 6 in rehearsal, because we sat around and read the whole script the first week we were all together, we read the whole script page by page for a week with each other in the room, right? And then we made adjustments and talked it out. And that's how we ended up with that kind of movie. We took the time to make the movie, not rush you to set. It's like, sit down, talk to you, see what you want to, you know. And so it was just an amazing opportunity, but I learned from Bob Z, he said, he used the term shrimp and fool. And I was like, what is he? I wonder what he means by that. That's so interesting. Why would he say? Shrimping food. And I went crazy. The first day we shot it, I had memorized about 30 different types, and they were supposed to cut. And then finally, I stopped, and the director said, "Cut it." Bob Z came out. He said, "Are there that many in there?" I said, "No, I was just letting it roll." He said, "I love that. Let's do it again." So he said, "Hey, T, you know that shrimping thing, the shrimping food thing?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Put that in here." And so Bob, he was the guy with the needle and thread stitching the stitches together for this movie. So that's Bob Zemeckis. You know what I mean? If you listen to your leaders, they'll tell you something, you know? So, and he did. And that just in that one phrase, shrimp and food. I said, all right, I'll take it from here.
And you had some interesting thing. You want to go out with
10 questions.
10 questions
Yeah.
from the audience.
From you, I'm going to take 10 questions before I go home. Only 10. So if there's 10 people who
We
want
have microphones around.
who would like to ask a question, share your question with the people around you so you come up with the best question for your little group. All right? And so we'll take the first question it'll be your call.
We have one right here. Will you please stand so we can see you?
Question number 1.
Question number 1, thank you for the contribution to this film, and I appreciate what you say about film being, like any art, is of its period. It's always going to be that way. Thank you for saying that. It's really nice, very, very generous. You said something about that you were almost fired, and you referred to the prosthetic, but you never really said why you were fired. Well, almost fired.
Well, I got fired for wearing it after we had a discussion that I could wear it, and then Bob Z was afraid it would offend people. I wasn't. I was like, which people? Black people. I said, well, I'm the blackest thing on the set. I ain't offended. So he said, I don't think we should wear it. So I said, okay, because he said we. So we get on the set, I wear it, first day, and when he comes over, I tuck my lip in. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The second day, I was talking to Gary and Tommy Hanks, and the director was coming, and I was just listening, and my lip was sitting out. And he said, Mykelti, are you wearing that thing? I said, yeah. He said, I thought we weren't going to wear it. I said, I'm glad you said that, because we're not wearing it. I'm wearing it, right? And Tommy Hanks and Gary looked at me and they backed up But I was joking. You know, I wasn't trying to be a jerk. So Bob Z looked at me and he went, has he been wearing this? And the whole crew said, yeah. He says, all right, it's in the movie, and off we went. And that's how it ended up in the film.
And actually, it makes it funnier, yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. But he's a beautiful human being, so even though you may chuckle upon first glance, like, ooh, glad I'm not that guy, right? When you get to know him, it's someone that you would really want to have in your life because you realize what a beautiful human being that is. Yeah, so that was the journey.
Question 2.
Number 2.
Question here to your left, right here.
So I know. Oh, can you hear me? I know you said you talked to Gary Sinise yesterday. What's your relationship today with Tom Hanks? I mean, he's been Tom Parker and Walt Disney and Otto and Sully and all the rest. I mean, what's your relationship today with Tom?
It's the same as it ever was. If he were in this room and I didn't see him, he would run over here and squeeze me so hard my head would pop off, and vice versa. So that's my relationship with everybody in that cast. We became family. We're bonded, like Gary texted me the other day, we're bonded for life. And we are. So that's my relationship with Tommy, too.
Question 3.
Number 3.
Someone is saying they have a question. Will you make sure you get the microphone to them, please? Is that the balcony? Do we have a microphone in the balcony? It's not on.
It's dead.
Okay, let's take question 3. We'll get back there. He's going to get a
Mike, and maybe you'll be question 4 or 5, but you're coming, okay? All right.
Let's take question 3 from the main floor.
Yeah, I thought the music in this film was really fantastic, and it was really great sound tonight. I was wondering what your experience was with the music throughout the film.
What my experience is,
Tonight with the music, and as you were listening to the music throughout the film, did you have any reaction to the music?
yeah, emotional.
Yeah.
It helped to put me right in the moment, right in the screen, because my wife and I, we were going to just go away and come back in an hour, and we couldn't leave. We saw that feather float up in the air, and baby, that was it. So we stayed and enjoyed the entire film, and I'm so happy we did. It was nice to sit in a room with a bunch of really awesome people and listen to them chuckle and gasp. Fantastic.
The music is what took me back.
Yeah.
All those songs that I haven't heard in 50 years just immediately transported me back to that time. Some great music.
Question 4.
In the upper balcony?
Yay, you got a microphone up there.
It's great. Hi. Thank you all so much for this film. I love it. It's so, it's an emotional film for me. And I wanted to ask, with it being so particular about portraying the peace protests in the Vietnam War and how it portrayed the Army itself, was there anything difficult or conflicting about portraying these heroes, as you put it, when it's such a difficult situation?
Do you mean portraying the military guys, or?
You as yourself as Bubba, your character, and being in Vietnam and that type of historical context.
How do I feel about it? Is that the question?
Yes.
I'm not sure I understand your question. I mean, how I feel about being in a movie that represents Vietnam, that has Vietnam scenes in it?
No, was there anything difficult in your process of playing that character?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Going off to war was difficult. Leaving my mama home and my little sisters was difficult as Bubba. And representing a human being who's socially not considered to be very bright was a dancing act that was extremely difficult to navigate, always is. Who's it who says, he that plays the fool, no idiot is he, something like that. But it takes a lot of care to play a character like this way, for all of us, because you don't want to blow it, because everybody's somebody's child. And so yeah, it was extremely challenging, the entire journey, but I wasn't alone. So we all felt that way, and we helped one another. It's the highest form of collaborative art in the world is this, cinema. Yeah. Question number 5.
One more in the balcony.
Hello, I haven't seen the movie in many years. And I just want to say I'm a climate science advocate and park naturalist. And the crisis of today, I kind of went back to my childhood and realized what's happening in the movie. And you're sharing about praying for your profession. you know, that was Lieutenant Dan getting in the water. I thought, did that affect you back then when that was going on? Because that's not your scene, but that's made an effect on me. Hope. That's why I want to say hope. We have doom and gloom right now. We have 10 years to get straight with how to not go over 2 degrees Celsius. But the hope is what's important. And that's what you were talking about.
I agree. I think hope is extremely important. And when we all grew up, that music you were just asking about, for me, everything was hopeful during that time. You know, you just hope that things would work well and turn out well. And it's an opportunity to be who we are, doing what we are. So thank you guys so much. Really appreciate you.
And she mentioned something I want to say. Today is Earth Day, and happy Earth Day. I just had to say that.
Happy Earth Day.
Somebody, yeah.
And you had the producer of Inconvenient Truth here earlier, Lawrence Bender, which was, you know, that film continues to be relevant.
Okay, next question, stage left, close
Is
to
that
front of
number
house.
6?
6.
Hi, thank you for screening this. It's been an amazing 12 films to come and see all of these. This is a terrific selection. And now that we know your most recent film that you've seen, I was wondering what it was like maybe the first time you saw this movie with a crowd or with people and you kind of realized how special it was.
Exhilarating, like it was today. But you guys have seen it before, so the first time this movie lands on somebody, it's so amazing because all the languages that Gary and they split us up to tour around the world and open the movie. So everywhere that Sinise and I went, all the people in the different languages laughed and cried in the exact same places. We didn't know what they were saying. We knew what we were saying, so we could keep up because of that, but we didn't understand the languages. But they laughed at the same place, and they cried at the same place because we're all connected. And Gary and I squeezed each other's hand like this and shook hands in the theaters when it would happen. It's like, we're connected, buddy, because we are. Does that help? Okay, all right, cool.
We have one right down front, right here.
Question number 7.
I just want to say Forrest Gump has inspired me, and I don't share this a lot, but as someone who's on the spectrum of autism and also an advocate of autism, but also a critic, what inspires me about this movie is how Forrest Gump himself makes many accomplishments as being someone on the spectrum. But one thing I do want to ask you is, what is truly rewarding about the message of Forrest Gump?
You can do it too. We all become what we think about. Everybody in this room, you are what you are where you are because of what you thought about. Every single one of us. The only problems we have are the ones that we caused. Every problem you have, you had something to do with it, if you're really honest with yourself. And Forrest Gump was such a pure-hearted person that his heart was his guide. For the people on the spectrum, I have family members on the spectrum at various positions on the spectrum, but everybody's got some humanity. They'll make you laugh, they'll make you cry, like Forrest Gump. So he represents everybody, and that's what I love about this, about the man Tom Hanks played and the way he lived through him. Yeah. Cool? Okay. Question number 8.
Sorry. I have another question coming from the balcony.
Hi. So in addition to being emotionally taxing, especially the Vietnam scene seemed really physically taxing to film. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like to film those scenes where you're wading through the trenches or being carried around by Tom Hanks?
And did he actually carry you?
Tom Hanks is, he can't really carry me. Kind of the nicest way I could put it.
That's what I thought. So tell us how that was done.
So, yeah. So we had some help from some special effects wizards, some geniuses. And I'm so glad they exist. What's your question?
How hard was it to film those the war scenes?
Very difficult. My cue was late when I ran away because I was given a real quiet cue, like it sounded like whoosh. But when all the bombs and things started going off, I missed my cue, and I was like, I should have heard the cue by now. And I looked back behind me, and Sinise and Tommy Hanks were going, run! And I jumped up, and these explosions kept popping up in my face and would actually hurt my feet running away because I was late. We had practiced this effect for a couple of hours, for about 4 hours. And these explosives will take you out if you don't run past them and get clear of it. And that's why we practiced for 4 hours plus. But I was late, I couldn't hear the cue. I was given an organic cue that was so soft that I couldn't hear it. And it almost cost me my life. And nobody meant it, but that's just, we didn't know. We were doing our best work, and it still almost took me out. So,
you didn't have double doing that for you?
No, I got paid a very tiny amount of money to do this movie, so I did everything. I did all the running, all the diving, all the rolling, all the flipping. I did it all.
Well, seems to me you should be paid more rather than less for something like that.
It's question 8.
I think it's 9. You can make it 11.
This is 9.
You can make it 11.
Oh, it's 9. I'm sorry. Question 9.
Okay. We have another one in the balcony.
Hi, Mykelti. Thank you again for being here. It really is an honor. You're such a positive person. My question is, what helps you keep such a good attitude when negative things happen in your life or in the world around you?
Everybody's been hit in the back of the head with a rock and in the face like Forrest Gump by something. When I'm talking about a rock, I don't mean a literal rock. I mean something smacked you in the back of your head and you turn around and it smacks you in the face. You got to keep going. You got to surround yourself with the best people who are looking to have the best experience in life. My daddy gave me this advice. He said, small minds discuss people. Average minds discuss events. And wise minds discuss ideas. Now, you can pick your people just based on that. That's someone else's philosophy, but my daddy gave it to me. So, you can pick your people, so pick the people who have great ideas and put in quality time there when you need to just discuss a game or something like that. Hang out with some folks that want to have average conversations. Right? And then you just pick your people that way, and just the journey's up to you. Pick the kind of people you want to travel with, and leave the other passengers on the curb till somebody else comes and picks them up. But that's it. Question number 10.
Okay, last question right here, downstage left.
Okay, thank you so much for coming. It's a magical experience every time I watch this film. My question for you is, was there a point in time going back to the very inception of this film, that there was a transition where you said this film is more than just the other ocean of films, and if you can identify a specific point in time when that happened, were you under pressure to act better because of that knowledge, or was it more of an inspiring effect?
That's a really great question. I always go to work expecting to give you my highest output. And sometimes I get there to work and someone's trailer is more important than the work, so they don't put their work on the screen at the highest level because they're having a trailer fight or a hair fight or some kind of fight on the set, and you don't get to do this kind of work. When we did this, we knew we were doing something special. We just didn't understand. We had no idea the breadth that it would expand and touch people around the entire planet the same way. So that's a gift right there to us, that's part of everyone's legacy, crew and all, you know what I mean? So it was an honor, but we knew we were doing something special. You never know. This movie's gonna make 10 million, 20 million, 30 million. Stop. Nobody can do that. If they could, they'd be my agent. Yeah, but I hope that answers your question. Okay, all right, great.
I have, when you talk about ideas, there's a question that I like to ask people when I'm interviewing them, and it's, if I had a magic wand, I'm your fairy godmother, I could grant you any wish, whether it's in your career, or really I like to ask the question, something that you would do to change the world. What is it that you would wish for?
I would wish that everybody had the exact amount of love that they need every single day, all night, so they can be the best them possible. So wave that wand, man.
I like that.
I kind of wish that you had 1 point of profit in this film. I think you earned it.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind. You know, but I have you guys, and that's awesome too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Mykelti Williamson. And thank you, Ebertfest audience, and we'll see you next year. Be safe, be kind. We'll see you next year.
That's right. All right, you guys.